talk about knives used to cut up vegetables. First of all, we have to know what type of knife we're using. You can see here we have two with a straight edge, one with a serrated edge. The serrated edge is not for use with vegetables. It has other uses. We're not going to talk about that today. The most commonly used knife is called a chef's knife. Comes in two lengths, 8-inch and 10-inch. I find that we use the 8-inch one almost all the time and the 10-inch one rarely. Only when you're cutting very long vegetables or when two of us need to cut at the same time. So, sharpness. The knife needs to be sharp. And the reason the knife needs to be sharp is because if it's not sharp, you have to push harder. And when you're pushing harder, the light knife is more likely to slip, turn over, and hurt you and cut you. So we want to keep it sharp. Plus, if you try to slice a tomato with a dull edge, you're going to end up with crushed tomatoes, not a sliced tomato, because it's just too dull to cut it. So how can you tell if a knife is sharp? Well, one way is to try to slice a tomato. If it slices easily, it breaks the skin easily and doesn't crush the tomato, it's sharp. Another way is just to take a piece of paper like that and try to cut it, and if it does easily cut it, then that's sharp. And the third way to do it is hold it up under a light. There's under the counter lights here, and look at hold it so that the sharp edge is facing you. Move the knife back and forth. If you can see a reflection off of that edge, off of that sharp edge, that means it's dull. The reflection means that anyway. So once you cut, let me move to this. So how do you sharpen a knife? There's two things I want to discuss. One is sharpening and one is honing. A knife gets dull by hitting something that's not soft like a plastic or a wooden cutting board. If it hits something hard or just from use, it can get dull. And dullness means the edge, the thin edge, has gotten bent over. Honing. You've seen maybe with some knife sets that have a long steel rod that you run this down, that does not sharpen it and hones it. And what honing means is it takes that bent edge and then straightens it. Although it's not sharpening it, it aligns that sharp edge so that it will cut sharply and it's not presenting a side edge to it. Sharpening, on the other hand, uses an abrasive which actually removes some material. I found that this is very easy to use. This is a Chef's Choice grinder, and it has very coarse, medium, and fine, and the fine one is made out of diamond dust. And so you only ever need the coarse one the very first time you ever sharpen a knife, and it's been in the kitchen for 10 years and gotten very dull. So all you have to do with this is do this about 4 times on each side. I'm not doing it that many because it's not that dull. And then use the diamond blade or a diamond wheel to do the final sharpening. Now it's been sharpened. And you don't have to do that often, just if you notice your tomatoes are starting to squash instead of cutting, if you have to run the knife back and forth and it squashes. Now this edge is thinner, much thinner than a piece of aluminum foil. When you cut vegetables and you get to the end and you say, oh, I need to put my vegetables in a bowl, don't scrape it like that. Scraping it like that, this is the knife with the knife edge. If you scrape it like that, this knife edge, scraped sideways, will bend over and you'll have a dull knife. So don't scrape it with the front of the knife. Turn the knife backwards like that. Scrape it off into a bowl or a pan or whatever you're putting in with the back of the knife to keep it sharp. And that's about all there is to knife sharpening. And our next segment, we will look at onions, how to cut them up, and sweet potatoes, how to cut them up. We take our nice sharp knife, and we're going to dice some onions. So first of all, the first thing you want to do is make a single cut of any vegetable that you cut, and then take the flat side and put it down onto the flat surface to stabilize the vegetable. So we're going to do that first. So now we put our flat side down. That way it can't roll around and you can't flip the knife over and cut yourself. Cut the two ends off. And then we can peel. Okay, so I've now peeled the outside, which you didn't see, but I did that. And we're going to slice this. And you do that with sort of that part of the knife with a little bit of a sliding action. Cutting in one direction first. And then turning it around and using the knife at a slight angle. And straighten it up as you go across. And you'll come to a point where it's starting to get taller than it is wide. Flip it over so that the flat side is down. So you're not trying to slice something too high, which may fall over. Okay, so now we have diced this section, and we want to put it in a container. Now notice that I have the knife upside down. I'm not going to slide the knife this way because I will bend that edge over and make it dull. So I'm using the knife upside down to scrape the onion into there, and I'll just do the rest of those onions and we'll be back. Okay, now we're going to tackle some hard vegetables like sweet potatoes. So sweet potatoes like to roll away because you have to push hard on them. So you just kind of bridge this and push it down. Immediately turn it to the flat side. And then you can place your palm on the top of it like that and sort of rock it down like that. I'm making chunks this time for a particular dish. And if you're going to use long ones, long vegetables like a carrot, you can sort of curl your fingers under so the knife can't get to your fingers while you're slicing it. We're chunking these into bigger chunks because we're making sheet pan vegetables. Okay, remember, save all of your vegetable scraps. You can put them in a bag until you have enough. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to pressure cook them in our Instant Pot for about an hour and let them sit to slowly release pressure overnight, and then strain out with a colander, strain out the vegetables, and we'll have our homemade vegetable broth.